الحمد لله الذي أطمع أن يغفر لي خطيئتي يوم الدين. رب هب لي حكما وألحقني بالصالحين. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على سيد الأنام خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. اللهم صل على محمد. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وإذ قلنا للملائكة اسجدوا لآدم فسجدوا إلا إبليس أبى واستكبر وكان من الكافرين. We commanded the angels to prostrate in front of Adam. They all did except Iblis, who arrogantly refused and was among the disbelievers. Verse number 34 in Surah Al-Baqarah is part of the ayat and verses and passages to do with the creation of human beings. Before I start with the central theme of this ayah, which is takabbur and arrogance, I want to recap on some of the issues that we talked about last night. In trying to explain how Shaitan tempts us by false promises, leading us to deception, I draw your attention to some shows the appearance, the physical appearance outside. It begins to give you detailed account of how physically fit you are or unfit you are, but particularly the spiritual part. To try to explain to us the spiritual part, the inner soul becomes a reflection of the inner soul. I'm sure our kids here, they have read the story of Snow White and the seven dwarf and the wicked queen with a mirror, that every morning she looks in the mirror and she says, mirror, mirror, just tell us exactly who is the most beautiful. And the mirror will respond, says, you are the most beautiful. And ultimately, when Snow White turned 7 or 8, the mirror began to say that, yes, you are beautiful, but Snow White is much more beautiful than you are. Which she became, can kill Snow White. Now imagine it's some kind of a mythical story, but for the benefit, for our benefit. If we have a mirror inside the house, and suddenly one morning it just gives the picture inside, how are we going to react? Certainly we will be shocked, terrified, to see that how dreadful our soul is and the spiritual condition, the inner spiritual condition. The problem that we have is that we all know that our soul and our spiritual conditions are in a bad shape. The physical part, if the mirror starts giving us some statistics about the physical part, Says, as I explained last night, your cholesterol is way above, your diabetes, your A1C is going above the normal, and your kidney is not functioning, your liver, you have a fatty liver, etc., etc. So we immediately react, and you have only 2 days to live based on the current physical condition. We immediately jump to the nearest physician, and we go through all kinds of medications. We go to the gym and we start dieting, exercising, and everything else, hoping that we can correct this as soon as possible. The challenge before us is that because we don't see the spiritual reality, we don't do much about it. We leave it until it's too late. So we have for the physical part, we do something, but for the spiritual part, we don't. We also, the second question was, we all know that paradise needs action, and desire and impulse will not help. You can't sit at home and I wish to go to heaven. And as soon as I die, the red carpet will be ready for me to go to heaven straight away. It's not going to happen. You need to act. You can go to heaven based on your own action. What do you do? There is a hadith that says that everyone, I think it's from Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullah salam alayhi, but I could be mistaken, that everyone has three different types of friends. The ordinary friends that we associate with, the family, and our a'mal. The one that we associate with, they are with us until we take the last breath, and possibly they come to the grave, to the burial site, and ma'as-salam, they go back. They continue their own life. Your family would stay with you until they dig the hole and dump guide you through, and they will go through the barzakh until you get to the day of judgment. And there is another hadith that says the a'mal actually walk in front of you. Not only they only associate with you, they walk in front of you. They stay with you as a friend. And a soul says, "Who are you?" It says, "I'm your a'mal." Your a'mal has taken shape, and I'm going to be with you until we get to the mahshar and the resurrection. So going to heaven by desire and impulse is not going to happen. That was the second question. Number three, we also know by this time you have repeatedly been to Ramadan program, and the speakers have told you about the uniqueness of the month of Ramadan and the critical nature of the Tawbah during this month. You all have gone through it many times. Despite all of this, despite understanding that our soul and the spiritual condition is diabolical, despite knowing that there is no such thing as a red carpet to heaven without a'mal, despite knowing that the issue of Ramadan is an exceptional period for us to correct ourselves, but yet we don't do anything. So human soul, tazkiyah or qad aflaha man zakkaha, can either be pure in itself or could it be purified, one of the two. Those who are pure in their nature, we call them Ahlul Bayt, Ma'asumi. The rest of us, our souls have to be purified. We have to go through the process, which means purification requires the removal of impurities within our own soul. The filth, the spiritual filth. That hadith says, awsakhul ghafla. The filth of forgetfulness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to be removed gradually. Impurities. So it has to be purified. According to the Holy Quran, The process of the removing of impurities from our soul begins with tawbah, and the whole process is called tazkiyah. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. It's a process that we have to go through. Let me give you an example. You have a piece of cloth. It's najis. Say, whether ayn al-najasa, the najasas on the piece of cloth. And you want to clean it, purification of that piece of cloth. The process of purification from a religious point of view is called tathir, that you go through purifying. But the process starts first and foremost by removing aynun najasa from that piece of cloth. As long as you have filth on it, whether it's blood or anything else, purification is not going to happen. You remove that filth first, and then you apply water to clean and purify. It's exactly the same in our spirit, with a difference. Instead of being called tathir, we call it tazkiyah. And the removal of aynun najasa, which is the filth within our own soul, have to start first. This is why the first two stages of tawbah, first, remorse of the past. Second, resolute determination that we are not going to go back. Then there are two other conditions, huququllah and huquq al-nas, we have to give it to them. Whatever I owe other people, I have to give it to them. I can't say astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayh and I have piles of debt to other people. You have to go and pay them. If you have done ghiba, tuhma, and so on, ask them for forgiveness. In some of the du'as, the dua of, I believe today, Monday, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please, those whom we cannot reach, they are dead. You forgive our sins because we can't go to them and ask for forgiveness. So huquq al-nas must be given to them. Then huquq Allah, prayer I have not done, we must do it. Fasting I have not done, I must do it. Hajj I have not gone, which I'm obligated, I must go to Hajj. Khums and zakat that I haven't done, purification of the amwal, I must go ahead and do it. All these four stages at least from the tawbah before we start saying astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu. So process of purification, we must start and removing of najasa. Because the struggle to rectify the soul is so hard, that last night I talked about Jihad al-Akbar and so on, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of the mercy and compassion, has created 1 month to make it easier for us. So the starting point is a little bit easier than under normal circumstances. And has warned us, the Holy Prophet in Khutbah Sha'baniyah has warned us that the you begin the process of gaining taqwa and God-centeredness and become God conscious. The month of Ramadan is a school in which we gain the resolute determination and the power to be able to control ourselves and gradually begin to change our life. One of the negative characteristics that destroys this approach towards purification and taqwa is takabbur, arrogance and pride. In all humans, in one way or the other, they have it. Pride creates an inflated image of ourselves and a false sense of self-importance. I'm somebody. Whether this self-importance, false self-importance is due to wealth or job or knowledge or profession or position. It could be anything. Or sometimes none of these, but where I was born or what tribe I belong to, what country I come from. It gives us this image of self importance, and I look down, patronize, and demean others because they don't come to my caliber. The first person in the history of human is that went through this was Shaitan. When we go to the verse 34, فَأَبَى, refused, وَاسْتَكْبَرَ, arrogantly refused. Why? خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. I'm superior. Why? Because you created me from fire and you created this riffraff from clay. Fire is superior than clay. I'm not going to submit. I'm not going to prostrate in front of this individual. The first mutakabbir. The curse of pride and arrogance manifests itself in our life and in the social and cultural setup in many forms. It could be elitism, what we feel supreme based on wealth, social status. I'm wealthy. Because I'm wealthy, I'm superior. False tribalism, which is ethnicity, race, nationality. I am from this country, then I'm superior to everybody else. Sometimes even false religious intolerance. I'm a Sunni, you are a Shia. You are lower than I, versa. Or I follow Ahlul Bayt, you don't follow Ahlul Bayt. All of these leading to sectarian wars and division. If anyone who attacks a mosque, whether it's in Pakistan, in India, or Afghanistan, or anywhere else, in the past we had them in Iraq, Daesh and so on were being paid by the Saudis and other people to come. Why? Because they thought Shias are subhuman. Now we hear the Zionist state calling the Palestinians subhuman. Otherwise, how can you pay somebody, huge number of people, to go to Iraq, to the Sunni area, give them the wealth, and then put these explosives around them to come to places where Shias are gathering to blow yourself up, whether it was in Samarra, whether it was anywhere else. It's because you consider yourself superior. This debate between what we call orthodoxy and heterodoxy, the understanding of the faith or singular understanding of the faith, is academia. We discuss it. Some people feel that because of their position, because I'm the professor of university, then I'm superior. I'm more intellectual. The rest, not worthy. This is how takabbur, arrogance, pride, manifests itself. Sometimes the guy doesn't have anything, but it's false self-importance. Shaitan comes in and boasts this reality. Ooh, you are somebody. And it reflects in our behavior towards others. So the first person that suffered from this was Shaitan. And there is a hadith from the Holy Prophet ﷺ that says, he who has in his heart an ant's weight of arrogance will not enter paradise on the day of judgment. How much is the weight of an ant? A teeny tiny amount of arrogance and pride will deprive me from entering heaven. The story of human creation, in every story that Quran has, there is an angle to it that when we analyze, we can learn a lesson from it. So the story of human creation is a testament to the consequence of pride and arrogance. Amir al-Mu'mineen sallallahu alayhi uses this creation story in Sermon 192 and draws our attention to the fact, what happened to the story, and the consequence of pride and arrogance in destroying our future. And you should take a lesson from what Allah did with Shaitan. He nullified all of his great action or acts and extensive effort on account of a vanity of one moment. Up till the time when he was tested, he was considered to be a malaika. 6,000 years, according to ahadith, of worship and submission disappeared in a matter of seconds when Allah commanded him prostrate, and he refused and tried to justify it. He was kicked out of heaven, and this is the conclusion that Amir al-Mu'mineen draws from this. Allah will not let a human enter paradise if he has the same things for which an angel, Shaitan, was kicked out of heaven. You have a pride? If already an angel called Shaitan has been kicked out of heaven for one moment of vanity, do you think that we have a chance of going back or being sent to heaven when pride and arrogance has taken over all of our existence? To overcome the curse of arrogance and pride, Islamic teaching offers profound solution rooted in humbleness and humility. To be humble. Number one, to consider all the things that you have, whether it's wealth, whether it's position, whether it's maqam, whether it's anything else, business or anything else, to consider all blessings and abilities that they come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They say it's recommended when somebody boasts and says how good you are, how great you are, inna hadha min fadli rabbi. Immediately understand that we really have nothing. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wasn't merciful to us, I would not have been in the position that I am in. You would not have been in a position that you are in. The person who boasts because of their position and wealth and so on, they would not have had this. Inna hadha min fadli rabbi. Instead of boasting about worldly accomplishment, believers act and expose, understand the gratitude that they have towards Allah. I have nothing. Whatever I have is from Allah. This way, the base that I have achieved something, there is an accomplishment, I have worked hard, I have become the best engineer, etc., is not there. You immediately associate it. Taqwa is to remind us, and God consciousness come handy as well. In the life of our prophets and Ahlul Bayt can become an example for us to imitate. Just go and read the life of the Holy Prophet as a role model. Look at his modesty, his simplicity, and compassion that he had for the sake of others. Abasa wa tawalla, a person comes into the mosque, and there are a number of stories. People come to the mosque and they search, where is this prophet? His lifestyle, the fact that he was sitting in the circle with everybody else, they couldn't distinguish him from the other poor people and the needy within the community. Let's learn from it, emulate. Role model, we need to do it. And remember that all material life and advantages that you have are transient. They will stay behind. You cannot take your wealth, you cannot take your knowledge, you cannot take your position, you cannot take anything with you when the time comes, Israel comes, and you have to depart. كَمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَوَّلَ مَرَّةٍ. You will come as you are, nothing. Yes, if you have sent something forward, وَقَدِّمُوا لَأَنفُسَكُمْ. send something forward, yes, those are going to be accepted. Otherwise, the idea that I'm going to carry all this stuff, look at pharaohs and the pyramids. When they started dig inside and finding out the place of burial, full of golds and jewelry and so on. What's the use? If you fill this grave with jewelry and wealth and everything else, you are not going to take it with you. Remind ourselves, the body will disintegrate within 1 week. The flesh goes. The bone over 6 months to a year or a little bit more is going to break apart. It's the soul with our deed. How submissive to Allah we were, that is going to be useful. Otherwise, nothing else going to help. So humbleness, respect, and empathy of others, and being part. If you go back to Khutbah Sha'baniyah, there is a section within the khutbah on social responsibilities. Your fast will not be accepted if you don't pay attention to the poor, if you don't pay attention to the orphans, if you don't pay attention to the elders, if you don't pay attention to the parents, if you don't pay attention to the children, etc., etc. So social Christians and salvation of one soul as part of the plane of social structure. We move together. That's why we have to think about others within our society. If the society is corrupt, I will not be able to develop myself and move forward. Because whether I like it or I don't, I will be affected by corrupted social structure. This is why we have obligation to correct the social structure and work with it. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we should start thinking about all the negative traits, whether it was part of ghiba, tuhma, anything, ailment of the tongue, and anything else. We really need to start gradually removing them one by one, so that by the end of the month, at least we have benefited beyond the abstention of the food and drink. We have benefited something spiritually. And then at the end of the month, if I go back in front of this mythical mirror, there is a change. Otherwise, if it stays the same, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the ugliest one of all? Says, I am, because I haven't done anything. So please keep this in mind, inshallah, as we go through the month of Ramadan. It's a month of hard deliberation, struggle, and purification of the soul. And it's not easy. But month of Ramadan has made it easier for us to get back to the right path. Inshallah. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
barakatuh. Any questions?
So there's a question about the tilawa of the Quran. How is the amount of thawab different if you do tilawa in Arabic versus the translation of your own language?
Well, the ahadith that we have regarding tilawat of Quran is the Arabic, that means Quran in itself. Even one verse of Quran recited in Arabic language properly is better than the translation. Translation is there to understand the meaning of it. What are you reading? But the actual translation, the actual reading of the Quran that is recommended during this period, the period of Ramadan. That's why, unfortunately, we are behind with teaching our children the correct reading of the language and learning of these surahs, because somehow we are distracted from the critical role that Arabic plays in understanding our culture and our history. A hadith that we have, it has to be recited in Arabic. You have another question, Brother Iqbal? Okay.
I have another question. So you again talked about the shaitan and him being an angel at first before his mistake. That reminded me another thing about the thing about angels being jinns who have reached the nafs al-mutma'inna state. So
Amir al-Mu'mineen actually says it in this 192, sermon 192, that Allah is not going to allow anyone to go to heaven while they have the same characteristics for which an angel was kicked out. The word of malak, uses in this sermon, which indicates the interpretation that I gave, that technically the creation are divided into two, the visible, invisible, and each one has three levels. We have three levels of nafs al-ammara, nafs al-lawwama, nafs al-mutma'inna. They have three levels, but we use a different metaphor, a different language to explain who they are. Shaitan or shayateen. And sometimes verses of the Holy Quran, shayateen al-ins wal-jinn, which means that even humans get, when they drop down, the nafs al-ammara become the same level as shaitan. And then jinn, which is the average level that they have obligation of behaving the same way. And then ultimately the one with nafs al-mutma'inna, that they reach malaika. And malaika have different categories or classification as well, but this is not the time for the discussion. But this clearly indicates, Amir al-Mu'mineen says, if you have a degree of arrogance or pride, we have already seen a malaika being kicked out of heaven. After 6,000, now it could be a metaphorical number or it could be a real number, 6,000 based on what? 6,000 years. Our calculation or some other calculation, we don't know. Amir al-Mu'mineen is trying to say a huge number of years of service, one instant of vanity, they all evaporated and disappeared. So that's something. But if already Allah, a human being to go to heaven, if they have that.
okay, so based on the, and I'm sorry for taking more time, but based on the classical interpretation of the angels being different from jinn, which I understood before you clarified that, was that humans being better than angels, the uh, the reason for that was that angels don't have a choice, whereas humans have a choice, and if they are good with the choice, that's better than just not being able to choose the bad thing. So, based on your interpretation, would you say that humans are better than Malaika? If so, how would that be?
Humans have the potentiality to be higher than the malaika because of the elevation, nafs al-mutma'inna, and they go up and up and up to the point. No, let me go give you a story of Mi'raj. Jibreel, which we consider to be the best of, or at least the one with the highest position within the Malaika, comes with the Holy Prophet and moves through the whole ascension until he gets too close to the Arsh, the place of the position of God's power. Stops. The Holy Prophet says, okay, let's move forward. He says, no. Beyond this point, it's not for me. One step and I will burn. It's for you to move forward. فَدَنَا فَتَدَلَّى فَكَانَ قَابَ قَوْسَيْنِ أَوْ أَدْنَى. How close he get to the supreme position, Malaika, the best of the Malaika, cannot get. It's the possibility, the potential of somebody, because the heart of human being, if we go back, this is a long discussion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the whole essence of creation was based on the love of Allah to recognize, or at least to be recognized, and for Him to emanate and somehow self-exposed within the creation. This self-disclosure, the first one is the light, and then comes down gradually. The heart of a true believer, al-insan al-kamil, the most perfect example, becomes the mirror image of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No other creature in the world has that potential. That's why it makes humans technically on the higher level superior than angels. They don't have that power of reflecting the divine image. This is why at the beginning of creation they said, "La ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana." Still, whatever it is, our limited knowledge. Al-insan al-kamil, that reaches a point where it becomes the image. My servant, submit. Once you submit and you elevate yourself, you reach a position that you have power similar to mine, which I give it to you. In the same manner that I say be, it will be, you have the potential to say be, and it will be. That position is reserved for al-insan al-kamil, the most perfect example of human being that sometimes in our literature referred to as hujjatullah on earth. That's why we cannot have earth without a hujjah, without al-insan al-kamil being present. And that's the living imam. If the earth is emptied, removed from the hujjah, it will disintegrate. Why? Because the purpose of creation was for that mirror image.
Thank you.
Right. I think there was a question in the back.
Just one question. So, I guess one question I have is, how do you justify the infallibility of, let's say, for example, Adam al-Islam, when some people may perceive that he disobeyed God when he ate
from Prophet Adam, the concept of asyan in Arabic language does not necessarily mean sin. Depending on the position that one is, in the lower level, in nafs al-ammara level, it's sin, disobey. In the nafs al-lawwama level, it's tarkul afdal, which means you do something that you shouldn't have done, not in the concept of sinfulness in the lower level. And when you get to the higher level, it's tarku shukr. When you don't thank enough, it's considered to be sin. If you look at some of the ahadith that we have on du'as and supplication, imams lament the fact that they are afraid that they have not thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enough. Despite the fact they are infallible, but they say because of that position that they are in, we should thank Allah more than what we are doing. And if that possibility exists, then that's a shortcoming from that higher level. So the concept of Osyan in the story of Adam is tarkul awla. It's not the sin on a lower level.
There's a question from the ladies' end. So, because since they started praying with Jama'ah, so they're making rows over here, and some of the people are standing in front of that cabinet. Praying. So how far the salah will be valid?
Adult. And then ladies stand on the right side of the door. That's their line. Then there is enough space to connect. But if they stand on the left side of the door and there is an obstacle between them, a wall and so on, it doesn't work as connection. So the best thing would be to leave the door and somebody stands over there, they stand on here and they look at the other side, they connect.
I'm sorry, like that's really good. My question is praying in front of those the green things, and then
You mean
there's a
that range?
Yeah, they have to step back. They have to step back to the side of the door.
That's good.
Yeah.
And the door is open.
Should be open, yeah.
So there's no physical partition.
Yeah, you actually see the person in front of you as connecting to the rest of the line.
Great.
So I have a question about most.
Well, I haven't finished it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. The other question is while praying the salah, we have the turbas print the printed turbas like print a name.
That's fine. That's no problem.
There's no problem.
No.
So okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Actually, because we know Arab language, in Pakistan, mostly people that recite the Quran, but they don't understand. So do you think they can still gonna get a reward for that?
No, I didn't say that. When you recite Quran, for the recitation, you get thawab, even if you don't understand it.
So Alice Nurul brother, they're doing a Taraweeh, and they did a whole month and they recite a Quran. So think they're gonna get a reward for that?
No, let's wait to finish one part of the question, and then we go to Salat al-Taraweeh. Any recitation of Quran in Arabic language, I mean the way it's been revealed, has a thawab, even if you don't understand it. Understanding it, it gives you an extra advantage to see exactly what am I saying in the recitation. But the thawab itself is for the recitation. For the recitation. اقرأوا القرآن. And because there is قراءة القرآن, there is تدبر في القرآن, reflection on the meaning of Quran. Tadabbur fil Quran and reflection on the meaning of Quran, you need to understand exactly what it is. But if you have two thawabs, one for the qira'ah, one for the tadabbur, because you don't understand Arabic, the meaning of it, the fact that you have already practiced the Arabic recitation, you will be given thawab for that. The issue of Taraweeh, we have a debate. We don't have anything from a Shia point of view as the wujub or even istihbab of Salat al-Taraweeh because they do it in Jama'ah. What we have, there are a number of prayers, whatever, during the month of Ramadan, that you can do it by yourself. The idea of doing it in Jama'ah is a bid'ah from our point of view.
Nafal you have to do by self.
Yeah, I mean, from the essence, the concept of recitation of Taraweeh as a Jama'ah is something that Umar brought into the whole issue. So for us, we don't consider it to be part of our faith, and we don't accept it. But if they do it, it's up to them. There are a lot of things they do that we don't agree with it. Imam recites Surah Al-Hamd, he will be rewarded for it. But Salat, from our point of view, takattuf, is mubtal. Our views are very close to Shafi'i point of view, that takattuf is mubtal, so you have to drop your hand. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward these people on the Day of Judgment is up to Allah. I can't say one way or another. But going back to the original question, we are obligated or highly recommended to recite Quran. Recitation, we just go through the verbiage of the Quran and we recite it, we read it. Yes, if we were to spend time and understand the meaning of what we recite, that's an extra advantage.
Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Brother Ali.
So, a follow-up question about the cupboard. So, from my previous Islamic education, I was told that praying in front of a mirror is not allowed.
No.
And this cupboard itself has a mirror. I believe so. So would that need to be covered for the ladies whenever they're praying here?
If they want to connect to the other side, they shouldn't be in front of the mirror anyway. They should be to this side of the door. And naturally, if there is anyone standing in a way that the reflection there is in the mirror, even when the line is corrected, it should be covered. Yeah.
Meaning if it's clear enough they could see themselves in silhouette and face, then that's a real mirror. Now, with all the things inside it.
Yeah, still, if it's showing something and people are, we need to focus during prayer. And anything that distracts our attention from the prayer, either it shouldn't be there or it should be covered. Sometimes even ordinary screen, TV screens, the TV is off, but you still can see your image on it. Cover it up. But there is a line in front of them that ends on this side of the door, and there is a line that begins slightly after them. This way they connect. Thank you very much. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
السلام عليك يا نبي الله، السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا باعث الهدى، السلام عليك يا طه وياسين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا فاضل الحسين وعلى الأرواح التي هلت بفنائك عليك مني، سلام الله يوم ما باقيه وبشر الليل والنحار، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد المسيحيين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام يا ابن خديجة الكبرى من المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا أبو فصل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا مولا علي بن الحسين مولا سيد الصادقين مولا زين العابدين عليه الصلاه والسلام، السلام عليك يا امام محمد باقر العلوم عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا امام جعفر الصادق عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا امام موسى قاسم عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك من زوفاء الفقراء، السلام عليكم منشد والزوار في يوم الجزاء، السلام عليك يا نساء النفوس، السلام عليك يا ايها المدفون بالقدوس، السلام عليك يا ابناء الاربعه، السلام عليك سلطان الارض والعجم علي بن موسى ايها الرضا وراجب الكذب والخدا ورحمه الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا امام محمد اخي جواد عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا امام نقي عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا امام حسن عسكري عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا حجة القائم يا مولا سهل الزمان الامان الامان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا امام المشي والجان السيد شريف القران، السلام عليك يا قوم الكفر والطغيان، السلام عليك يا دار الظلم والعدوان، اجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وزهورك، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته،
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.